Hi greedy 3Ders, today's episode is going to be dedicated to this, the Anycubic Wash and Cure 2. I'm going to do a review of this, I'm going to show you it in operation, and at the end we'll discuss what I think about it and whether I think you should spend your hard earned money on this thing. Stay tuned. So let's get the thing out of the box, and I really can't fault the packaging. The packaging has been excellent, everything is well protected, there's plenty of styrofoam over there. It's been strategically packed to fit it in the smallest box possible, no real dramas here. So when it's all out, that's what you get in the box. You're going to get the lid, you're going to get the cleaning tub, which is bigger than the one I had on the Elegoo. This is a 3.5 litre tub. You're going to get loads in that. The basket's going to be a little bit restrictive, but just as a tub full of fluid, you're going to get loads in there. It's got a metal propeller or impeller rather than a plastic one, and the basket fits in. And one of the great things about the basket going in is there's some legs on the bottom of the basket, which means that the propeller will spin with the basket all the way to the bottom. Brilliant, love it. Now it comes with a little handle there to connect a smaller build plate to it. You will not get big build plates in there. It comes with a sort of plastic twisty turny thing that you put on the base that fits in nicely to do your curing. You've got this reflective piece of material that sits at the bottom. I'll unwrap that in a while, and once that's out you put the plastic on it and it will reflect the UV lights upwards. It comes with the obligatory pack of tools, including a steel bearing, which is fab, and as I said earlier, I would take the protective sheet off that reflective surface and it looks absolutely lovely. For those of you that love the specs, here are the technical specs. You can pause this and have a little read of those. So I think the best thing to do is see the thing in operation. So let's turn it on to start with. And there it goes, bursts into life. It's got a knob at the front that you turn to set the time. On the left hand side of the knob is a little switch that changes it from curing to washing. Simple, one press of the button alters that, and you just change the knob around to the time you want, press the button and away you go, and it bursts into life. It's a little bit noisier than I thought it was going to be, but works a treat. There's the impeller or propeller, and there it is bursting into life. It seems like it's magnetically joined to the engine or the motor below, so that's good as well. And there you go, you can see it working. But the great thing about it is this: when you put the basket in, you can drop it right to the bottom, and the little legs mean that the impeller or propeller will still work absolutely flawlessly. There's that reflective sheet that sits on the bottom. The plastic base tray sits just inside, and you are ready to cure. You must have the lid on to cure, or so it says. We'll come back to that in a bit. You will change to the cure setting, turn the knob to the time you want, press the button, and 12 little UV lights will cure your item. Wonderful. There they are in their full glory, curing away, and you can see the turntable is turning nice and slowly, not too quick, so it's going to fling your items off. When you take the lid off, it goes off, or it did on that time. Now I'm going to fill it up. It's got a 3.5 litre capacity container, but I'm putting about 3 litres in there. But 3.5 litres is bigger than the Elegoo equivalent. And I'm going to turn it on and just let you see it's the wonderful vortex effect that you've got. It really does agitate the material, as you can see there, which is fabulous. There's a lovely vortex that's going to clean all the resin off your pieces just admirably. Now I'm going to put a holder on the top of it, a handle, and I'm just going to super glue that on so I don't have to get grubby fingers all over it. And I suggest you do that with your printers and also your cleaning stations. So let's see it in operation. Here's an R2-D2 and C3PO that I'm currently making, and I'm going to get the pieces off as normal. I'm going to give them a dirty wash. I always do that with anything. That's not going to change. They're always going to have a dirty wash. Now one thing I will note about the size of this, it is at maximum about 3¼ inches by just around about 5 inches, which is going to mean you're not going to get massive things inside. So my R2-D2 body will not fit inside the basket. It is something to take into consideration. Size may be an issue for you. But having said that, the smaller pieces fit in absolutely wonderfully. So if your pieces are going to be predominantly smaller, then that's absolutely fine. And you can just drop it straight into the solution in the basket. There's no fancy little clip to hold it. It sits all the way down the bottom. The legs keep it off the propeller. You're going to turn it on, give it a few minutes to wash. You don't need the lid on. It will work fine with the lid off. and there you go, it's burst into life. Now the recommendation of course will be to put the lid on to protect from any fumes and protect things, but it does work with the main lid of the unit off. You'll also notice it's slowing halfway through, stopping and changing direction, which is a pretty standard feature in wash and cure, and this one is no different, and it will just change the agitation direction and change your cleaning. Now when it's done, I quite like the fact you can just lift your basket out and lean it on the side to let it dry, which is good. And when you're ready to cure, pop the reflective base down, pop your plastic curing station on top there, pop your items on. You must have the lid on to cure, so pop the lid on. Set the time that you want. Make sure you change it to cure, of course. Set the time, press the button, and the curing process begins. Wonderful. And when your curing is finished, or when you've decided it's had enough, you just need to press the button to stop the curing process and take it out. Now that shows you the size of the curing is much larger than the cleaning, so I can get larger items in, which is again a good sign for curing. A little bit of a problem for cleaning. Now watch this. I take the lid off and the light comes on, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. It did happen a couple of times, and it's not supposed to come on with the lid off, so just be careful. Not sure if that's just my unit or a common fault. Have a little flick through the book before you play with it, and that's the Wash and Cure 2 in operation. Okay, so we've had a chance to play with it, we've had a chance to use it in anger, and we've seen it working. So what do I think about the Anycubic Wash and Cure 2? Okay, well, it does what it says on the tin. It washes the items, it cures the items, it does all of that, absolutely no problems at all. If you're looking for a cure station that will clean big prints, then you know it's not going to be any good for you, because it is quite small in the basket. As you could see in the video, my R2D2 body just wouldn't fit in that, and that was 125% of normal size. Apart from that, everything else fitted in there. So if your parts are going to be smaller than the basket, that's absolutely fine. It's not a problem at all. The curing side of it, you've got a bigger surface area to do your curing, so that wasn't a problem. I like this. I've got to be honest. I did have the I had the Elegoo Mercury Plus, and I do think this is a better machine. And the reason for that is I think that the plate that actually cures your items is larger. I like the twisty knob and the push button control. It means you're going to get less resin all over it. I just think it's a nicer machine. However, that's personal choice. You may prefer the Anycubic, or you may prefer the Elegoo. That's your choice. It's a lot cheaper than the Elegoo. This came up at just £108, which isn't horrendous. It's one of the cheapest ones on Amazon when I bought it. So from a cost perspective, okay, 108 quid is still a lot of money, but it is an okay buy. I'd be quite happy with spending £108 on that, and I did. I bought it. It wasn't gifted to me. Would I recommend you guys get one? Well, is something like this absolutely necessary? Well, it's not. You can use a bowl full of IPA and a UV light. You don't desperately need one of these. But if you want to make your process a little bit easier, and if you want it all in one place, and if you want it neat and tidy, yep, absolutely. One of these would be recommended. The only thing I will say is, from a negative perspective, this is the second unit I've had. The first unit arrived and it would not even turn on. Little red light came on the back, but it was dead in all intents and purposes. So this is my second Anycubic unit. It's also the second Anycubic piece of kit I have to send back because it died. So, you know, from a longevity point of view, I'll do a review of this in 3 or 6 months' time to tell you how it's going. But it is something to take on board. Lots of other people have had okay experiences, but a few have had problems with it. So definitely something to take on board. At this stage, yeah, I've got no issues with recommending it, but I would say wait a few months, let me play with it, do some more research on the internet and see what other people think of it, having used it for a longer time than I have. But I will come back to it and leave a review. Now, if you like what you've seen today, please subscribe to the channel. We do have a Patreon, and I really would appreciate if you take a look at that. Joining the Patreon is one way of supporting the channel and allows me to carry on doing things like this. You can also support the channel by subscribing. You can also support the channel by looking at the description and buying any materials that you need or anything at all. And there'll be a link for this as well there, and a little bit will keep back to the channel. And it means I can carry on doing these things that I love doing so much. So I hope you've enjoyed today, and I'll see you next time on Greedy 3D.